Okay, well, welcome to the Career Transition Podcast. This is episode 2, and I'm Joaquin.
And I'm Gavin.
And today we got 2 more guests. Do you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves? Like name, major?
Go ahead, bro.
I'm Beau. I'm a sports media major with a minor in sports management. I'm a senior. I graduate here in the next week.
And I'm Alex. I'm also a sports media major, and I also graduate here in the next week.
So, how would you guys describe your last few years here at Oklahoma State?
More like I got actually like a direction of what I wanted to do with my life. We most of us took the class of fundamentals in studio production with Hoffman, and I felt like that kind of class kind of kick-started to what I really wanted to do with my life. And it wasn't a big question mark, but I felt like it gave my life more of a sense of direction.
And then I'd say for me, like, my last few years here at Oklahoma State's probably been more of an adventure than anything, like figuring out what I wanted to do, yeah, but also just kind of learning how to navigate the world outside of small town America.
And what kind of things did you guys get involved in over these last few years, if you guys don't mind sharing?
I was a part of the Ocali my junior year, and then after that, I kind of had to get my own job away from it that actually paid me something, so I could kind of get used to the real world of what it's like to, deal with taxes, living on my own, how to balance a budget. I had to make that step into real reality to kind of like, I wanted to, it's almost like, it's always the thing, like you want to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's kind of what I was doing with myself.
And then for me, I did writing my freshman and sophomore year, covering different events like tennis, softball, football, things like that. And then I kind of got in the same situation where I had to make some more money, so then I just got a regular part-time job.
And so, out of the things you did get involved in, how do you guys think those prepared you for now?
I think it kind of helped me with some of the skills that I was it gave me more experience and more skills away from the classroom, because you can only learn so much in the classroom, but when you actually get involved in a club, a group, doing something on campus with a bunch of people, you learn more because you're not learning from professors, you're learning from other people, and there's always things that somebody else is better at than you are. You're better at something than somebody else is, and you can kind of teach each other, and you're kind of harnessing all those skills together.
Yeah, and I would say kind of to piggyback off what Beau said, but also learning like the personable skills, like how to build those connections and relationships, especially when dealing with athletes or a story of a person, whoever it may be, and just kind of learning how to find maybe the unspoken stories, the little bits that that people may not know, and kind of driving those home.
So, what would you guys say you've learned most in college, or like what you took away that had the most impact on you?
So I think the biggest thing for me was it kind of happened during COVID, because we are all people. COVID kind of impacted everybody's lives. It impacted a lot of our lives because, Gavin, I know you weren't here freshman year to kind of go through that. Were you here through that?
Yeah.
So like you would know, we and Alex was here. We kind of had to learn that like through traumatic times that we kind of had to lean on each other, whether it would be there virtually or at a distance, or if you were close enough you could kind of go hang out with them. You kind of had to learn that you had to lean on each other, because at the end of the day, life is life and you never know what's going to happen. So I think the big thing that I learned was understanding that people are people and they're always going to go through something, and you kind of have to understand that. And I think COVID kind of really kickstarted that for a lot of us.
And kind of goes along with what Bo's saying. Like, you find out who your friends are through this. I think a lot of it, because far too often, you graduate high school and you think, oh, these people are going to be my friends forever just because you've been around them for 13, 14 years of life. And then you come to college and then those relationships fade, and then you kind of find new friends. Like Bo and I met at NOC doing math, and we've kind of stuck through it together ever since then. And you just kind of find your way that way. And then I think, too, also time management. It's something that we get preached at a lot, but you really have to find the way to balance everything of having a social life, being able to do work in the classroom, and also put out good quality work with that.
And is there anything you guys would maybe do differently if you could go back?
That's always a question that comes up, and always a cliche is like, no, you never want to do anything different. But I feel like going through it all, I feel like somebody would always do something different. I think I would get more involved, because even through high school, like you both know, I grew up in a very small town, and it was like everybody knows everybody, so it's not like being shy. But like once I got home, I never talked to a lot of people from my school. I just went home, did my own thing, and coming here, it kind of, I wish I was more involved with people outside of my roommate and my other friends that I had. Like they're great friends, they really are, but I really wish I'd have been more involved earlier on.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way too. Like, I wish I wouldn't have been so timid just because I didn't know what to expect. I'm in the same situation as Beau, a small town, but then you also factor in being disabled. That can also kind of put a different kind of pressure on you in a sense because you just don't know how to navigate the world around you, especially when you've had certain people helping you for so long. So I really wish I would have taken the time to kind of see what was out there more and maybe gone. Not necessarily in a different path because I've always loved telling stories, but learning that the business is not very lucrative in a lot of parts unless you're a big name. So maybe kind of seeing what other paths might have been out there might have been a good choice. But I mean, truly, I don't think I would have changed anything from like a learning perspective.
I find growing up in small town America, and I find this for a lot of students that are almost the same as me and Alex, is like it's a hard adjustment because we're going from a place of about anywhere from like 15 to 3,000 people to this college houses about 28,000 students. That's a big adjustment. That's like us. Like it's hard. Like I remember when I came to Stillwater, like for the first, I was like, this place is a massive city. And after being here for 4 years, I'm like, okay, it's nothing
Yeah,
too crazy.
it's really not that big, but when you first come on the campus, when you're used to that small town lifestyle, that's what you think. Like, holy crap, I can go to Walmart anytime I want. You know, growing up for me, Walmart was like hour trip to go back and forth. So
Like for me, it was even a 20-minute drive. And even then, it was kind of like, man, I really don't want to have to leave at like 11 o'clock
Right.
at night. And now I'm like, cool, Walmart's a 10-minute drive. I can go grab something real, or not even that, like a 5-8 minute drive. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, cool. I can just go get what I want now. I'm like, it's cool.
yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, honestly, we're the same way. You know, we're from Bartlesville, both of us. I think you guys know that.
oh yeah,
It's a smallish town, and you know, we kind of stuck together throughout college. But I feel the same way. I kind of wish I could have branched out a little more as well. You know.
Do you guys feel like you would have changed the path y'all were on at all, or do you think you would have stayed the course?
You know, I think I would have stayed the course, but kind of what Bo was saying, I do wish I would have gotten more involved, especially in my earlier years. Here at Oklahoma State, in my sophomore and junior year, I feel like maybe I didn't just put myself out there as much as I maybe should have, but it is what it is.
Yep. And so what's your guys' immediate plan after college? Because I know we're all graduating here in about a week. You know, like, do you guys have any plans, and like, what are your long-term goals?
So currently, short term, it's staying here, finishing out the lease here at our apartment, and kind of like without like we both work at Lowe's part time, and Alex is the reason I got into Lowe's, so I appreciate him for that like a lot. But the long term is like I'm engaged. My fiance lives in Oklahoma City. I wanna go to Oklahoma City. I've applied for a few jobs out there. Today I've applied for a couple, and I still haven't heard anything back about one job I applied for like 2 weeks ago, which I'm assuming the latter of the option happened. Typically, what happens to most people that are at college, it's a no, but that's okay. You expect that. That's something that I don't want anybody to be demoralized by because that's something that's going to happen.
Yeah, you're gonna get 1,000 no's before you get a yes.
For a lot of people, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the long term goal is to kind of just, I guess it's more of just trying to find my place, trying to figure everything out.
And I'm in that same boat too, just because like I have a girlfriend that's in Tulsa. She's got another year left of school, so kind of trying to plan around that and kind of figure out how our lives are going to work together. But also kind of where Bo's at too, just finding my place wherever that's going to be, whether it be Tulsa or Oklahoma City. I just know that I want to do some form of radio or sales if possible. So whether that be having a radio show or helping like in the booth itself, or doing like ticket sales or something like that.
And if you guys would have like any advice for other students, whether that be like incoming freshmen or sophomores and juniors in our major, like what would that advice be?
We all joke that a lot of our classwork is just projects, so we feel like we have a lot of this time on our hand because a lot of like you know this, I'm sure you know this. We're very project based in our major and within our building, so it's like cool. We don't have schoolwork, but for the people in our degree that are coming up, like don't let that think, oh, I have all this free time, I can do this last minute, because that's not the case.
Yeah.
You want to take everything you can at every minute. You want to get every sunshine day to go do something. You want to have, sometimes you're gonna have to go film in the rain. Like, this, my last project we did I was like oh crap, this is last minute. I have to film in the rain, and that was the worst thing ever. Luckily, it wasn't. I didn't get a terrible grade on it, but I could have done better if I'd have just managed my time better. I think that's the big thing for anybody coming into this major is you have to learn time management. There is so much you have to do during the day. Like you only get so many hours when the sun's up to get shots when you're filming or doing anything. Like it is a lot of time management. You have to learn that.
And to kind of go along with what Bo's saying too, procrastination is the devil. Because like I am the world's biggest procrastinator. I've been that way my entire life. So being in this major and doing that, you're gonna find yourself in a bit of a hole. So a lot of times I had to learn how to dig myself out, and that's a good skill to have too. But like Bo was saying, the more active you can be of okay, let's just get this done and knocked out now, the better off you're gonna be in the long run. Plus, I mean, if something goes wrong and something doesn't go to plan with what you're wanting to do, you can always kind of tweak things on the fly or go in and edit it afterwards. So it's always better to have that proactive approach, I would think.
Another thing I want to say, not just for people coming into our major, but freshmen in general. Yeah, high school teachers talk about how these things won't fly in college, and some of that's true, but some of it's also like sometimes the professor's gonna be like, you don't have to come to class. Okay, cool. Make sure you're still getting your stuff done. You're looking at all the slides because technically most professors now post things online for students just for the benefit. And even after COVID, like it's becoming more of a thing. And the other thing is like we all hear the gist of like, yeah, college, like we get to go party, do all this fun stuff. Yeah, but you also, if you're not paying attention and you're not being smart about it, you kind of. I've known a few people that partied too much and they flunked out and they're no longer here, and that's a big thing. Is like you never like again like COVID, like you don't want to see somebody fail, but you at the end of the day they're only going to do what they're going to do. You can only help them so much.
Right, and that's where I think part of it though is too you have to have a resiliency. Like you can't quit. Too many times I've seen people they start something and then they don't seek out to finish it. And I know things can get hard and things can get difficult. We're all human. We all struggle with emotions, and feelings of like, oh crap, how am I going to pull this off? What can I do? But I would also say that's a big lesson that college has taught me about life. Is that yeah, it may look bleak in some scenarios. Dealing with the pressures of I got to get this done, or I have family troubles to worry about on top of this, or a job, or whatever. But as long as you can kind of persevere and push through and just get to the end and the finish line, you'll be all right. So I would say the biggest thing would be just don't quit and just keep pushing.
Yeah, that was a really good discussion. That's kind of the end of our questions, but we really appreciate you guys coming on
Thank you
to
for
the
having
show.
us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the same boat. We kind of wish we would have gotten involved more, put ourselves out there and stuff. And that's kind of what we're doing with this little podcast limited series. We kind of wanted to do something that meant something for other people.
Yeah. So what do you guys feel like your biggest takeaways have been, if you don't mind me asking?
Takeaways from just college in
Yeah,
general?
yeah, just need to know.
I would probably say, man, I feel like one is just having like developing thick skin, especially in a major like we're in, a media. It's very cutthroat, And another thing is just like what we kept saying, you're just getting involved, putting yourself out there. And to be honest, this is kind of the hardest thing because once you get over that hump and once you get that confidence, I feel like there's nothing that can really stop you.
Right, it's just that initial fear that's like so, like, yeah.
It's almost weird. Like you kind of have to like, even though you haven't done a whole lot of this, you kind of have to go in like you have this ego of like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I do as well. Even though you may have no idea what you're doing, you still have to have that ego, and that's something
Yeah.
professors have told us before, and other people who come and spoke to us before.
And I think that's part of our challenge, though, too, coming from small town America, because nobody really has an ego unless, you're the football star or some, athletic guy or girl. You're not going to be the one with an ego. You're just going to be a small town country bumpkin. So I think that's probably one big issue, though, too, is just finding that ego and finding that confidence.
The other thing with the issues is like small town people, like if you come from a small town, don't go home every weekend. That was probably the big thing that hindered me a lot my freshman years. I went home on almost every weekend because I could. And it's not that I regret it because I love my family. Me and my family are very, very close. But you don't realize how hard the transition is until after you keep going home over and over again, you realize how much you're struggling.
Yeah, honestly, I feel the same way. Like I feel like for a long time I treated college like it was high school. I was like, well, I can get through classes and stuff and I'll be fine. and I never really challenged myself to go further. I kind of felt like I was trapping myself in that small town mindset. You
Yeah.
know, I did the same thing. I went home almost every weekend my freshman year, and now I look back, I'm like, oh, I had all that time on my hands. I could have done this.
Right.
So I think my biggest takeaway would probably be like, you have to challenge yourself and believe in yourself that you can accomplish great things, even if you don't feel like it's something you've ever done before. I mean, there's no better time to start than now, you know?
Yeah. And then, I mean, for you guys, what's that looking like for jobs and stuff? How's that going for you guys?
As far as a job search goes, I'm kind of in the same place as Beau. I'm engaged as well, and I'm just trying to find something that works not just for me but for her too. And whatever that kind of looks like, I've just been applying for really whatever I find, and just waiting for that one call and waiting for that one yes, and that's all I can really do now.
A weird question for you guys, though, but what seems to be like the best service to use in terms of like getting views for jobs in terms of applications? Because I've used a lot of Indeed and stuff, LinkedIn, things like that. Haven't gotten a lot of responses, but what's worked for you guys?
I haven't got any,
Yeah.
yeses or anything, but I mainly use LinkedIn.
Okay.
I feel like to me that's probably the best platform, just making connections. And I've found a lot of job openings just being connected with different people and reaching out to different people. I feel like that's probably the best source, at least for me in my
Okay.
experience.
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best one. I think also the portfolio we all have to make for the media school. I think
Yeah.
that probably having that looking clean and stuff, having all your projects what you've been involved in, it's probably gonna help. But yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like I haven't really gotten any calls back yet. I'm trying to get like an internship, honestly, like a
Yeah.
post graduation one, because I feel like it's gonna be easier to get a job if I have some experience in the field.
Right, because we talked to a guy at Oklahoma City who's kind of in a similar situation to me, being in a wheelchair and stuff, and he was like, they don't require you to have an internship before you graduate, and we were like, well, no, they just told us, just do whatever you want, and he was like flabbergasted because he's like, I can't hire anybody if they don't have an internship.
Oh my god.
So yeah, it was one of the big things we heard.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, honestly. Yeah, and I feel like another thing is I hear a lot of other majors internships are required to graduate, and I feel like that should be maybe that's something the SMSC schools should just think about doing, just because
Right.
they're kind of in a way leaving us out to dry.
Right, we're
So,
kind of behind the eight ball because like the website creation's a great idea in theory, but it's only going to take us so far if we don't have the actual like physical, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's kind of a hindrance too. But and not to knock on that SMSC program, but it's just like, what are we supposed to do now if you're in this situation where you're pushing and trying, but you're just not getting anything?
My other thing is like it's almost really hard to get an internship when you are in a situation where you have to have a part-time job to kind of maintain like a living condition, because internships a lot of the time don't pay. And the hard thing is you're going to travel to a place to do an internship and you're not going to receive pay, especially if you're doing it here in Oklahoma. You're traveling back and forth, you have no money for gas at that point. You're just kind of like, you're SOL at that. Like it is rough, and I find it really difficult. So I almost wish we would offer the SMSC would offer some like internships throughout the year, to where like
You can work it almost as
I
like
know
a job, but get the
yeah
skills.
we have I know we have O State TV, we offer that. I would almost wish we'd offer some things as internships. Like I really wouldn't care to get paid about it, but like I'd be very grateful and respect if Oklahoma State, especially for the SMSC, would do some form of internship for most students, like as a class. Like this is an internship class, this is how you're going to get this experience, this is what we do. We're not counting this as a class, it's like an internship credit.
Okay, that makes sense. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree, honestly. Like I have a coworker at Home Goods, and he's moving to OKC for the summer, or Edmond, something like that, for an internship in like construction tech, like it's required or something. And he said
Yeah.
he's gonna have at least 3 by the time he graduates. I'm like, man.
Yeah. Like my
That's
buddy
crazy.
just to graduate, he's doing an internship. He's a geology major. He has to go for 6 weeks just to pass and graduate, but it's considered an internship, and they go out in the field and look at rocks. And I'm like, here we are making a Wix portfolio,
Yeah.
It's like 9 day difference.
Yeah, those Hoffman projects can only go so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the one professor I think that doesn't get enough credit through Oklahoma State is Hoffman. Hoffman does so much, like it's very impactful, because he gives you the first taste of reality, but he's not a jerk about it. He's almost like a polite I don't know how to really explain it. He kind of intros you to the world in a hard fashion way, but lays it on you nicely, if that makes sense. Like that's a guy I don't think gets enough credit here at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I feel like he kind of does a good job is uh he does the right amount of like instilling fear, like realistic fear into you, but also
He
gives you like
supports you. Yeah.
he gives you a good blueprint of how to navigate that, and so yeah, I would agree. I feel like he's definitely one of my favorite professors for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a strat comm major, but I had Hoffman. I took the studio production class as like an elective,
Yeah.
and I don't regret that at all. That was a really fun class, honestly. That had me after that class. That had me thinking. I was like, man, I might have chosen the wrong major. Having more Hoffman sounds nice.
Yeah, he's just a good all-around dude. I don't think anybody can say anything bad about Hoffman.
And we just had an interview earlier today with Rowdy and Noah, and they were saying like, pay attention to your professors because they really do care. And I was like, that's a good point. Honestly, these professors they put in a lot of work and they
Yeah.
really care about their students.
Some professors are differently. Like we know Dr. Mack, he's a bit more abrasive, but
Well, I
he
think,
d-
think
he-
that comes from the old school mentality.
that's what I'm saying. He's a bit more abrasive, but he does care.
Yeah.
Like, and there's professors like I said, like there's guys that are more abrasive. Ray, who is more of a jokester.
Right.
Hoffman, who's realistic. You get a lot of realistic people like Jeremy too. I have, Gavin. We have Jeremy, and Jeremy's probably one of the more realistic people we've had, other than Hoffman.
Yeah.
But he's realistic and he's honest, and that's something that I appreciate from a professor.
Yeah.
There's other professors that I've had that I've enjoyed, but Jeremy and Hoffman really stand out to me as probably the two best that I've had.
Yeah, and sometimes they might get real sarcastic or like make a joke that might offend you. You're like, man, I worked hard on that, but they're just being real. They're
Right.
keeping it real.
Because I mean, they always told us, we keep hearing this now that we're graduating, your hardest critics are going to be your professors. They say, jobs are going to be hard, but no one's going to grill you like a professor. So they're doing it out of a place of love because they want us to succeed.
It's also let me piggyback off that for it's also like they want us to succeed, but they also want us to get fired. You know what I'm saying? Like we could turn in something bad for a job, and they're gonna look at us like, who did I just hire, and why is this so bad? Why are you here? Like they do it out of the place of like, we want you to get a job and to keep that job, because at the end of the day, we don't want to see you on the street trying to ask for money
Yeah.
Yeah.
or go home and living with your parents and struggling.
That's a good point.
That is the hard thing that is the realization I've come to is like, these professors are tough, but they do it out of a place where we're prepared for a job and we're gonna be able to keep that job.
Yeah, that's right, man.
hmm Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys have anything else you guys would like to add before we wrap it up, or
Let's see, anything I'd like to add? I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Bo, do you have anything?
Don't be scared to try new things. Go out, have fun, be smart, but also be active. What you're doing in your life, like what your future goals are.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with what you guys saying. Don't be afraid to start new things, and don't be afraid to believe in yourself. Because they're willing to give you a chance. You just got to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like while we're making this podcast, we want to flex our skills a little bit.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Show what we're capable of, and hopefully people can take something away from these discussions.
I think they will, guys. You all are doing a good job.
I appreciate it. And we appreciate you guys coming down here, and recording this with us. We really appreciate
Well,
that.
thank you guys for having us. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, we'll catch you guys in the next episode.